those.
Hey guys, this is Jackie with the Jackie Lowe Show, and today I want to talk about the subject of gender. I found out the gender of my baby, and I'm stoked to reveal it. I haven't done it yet because I'm going to do one of those gender reveal like photo shoots, and I think it's really cool. Like, why celebrate the kid with just a baby shower when you can do a gender reveal? It's something that's become pretty popular nowadays. Back in the day, they didn't do that, and I love it. My only gripe, though, is I'm noticing that some of the more, like, I live in California, a lot of the people I know are super duper liberal, and they're still throwing these gender reveal parties, right? Which is when you find out if it's a boy or girl, and either pink balloons are going into the air at the end of the day there, or there's going to be some blue balloons. Well, if you believe that there's 75,000 genders, how do you justify throwing that extra party? You really can't do that, right? I mean, at the end, I'm wondering, when these people give birth and they have their child, do they just leave the gender aspect of the birth certificate blank? Can you legally even do that? I don't know. I'd be really interested in hearing it from other states, or even, I wasn't able to find the answer. Do you legally have to put a gender on the birth certificate? I imagine that you would. So I wonder if there's any kind of pushback on that. And ultimately, if you're throwing a gender reveal party and you believe that there's 10,000 genders, you're a hypocrite and you're throwing a party you probably shouldn't. Man, I never thought that before my child was even born yet, I was going to have to start looking up this crazy gender conversation and be checking out how public schools are treating this. And, I've done that. I found out that my perspective is going to be kind of focused on California. That's where I'm from. That's where I live right now. Although I'd love to hear how other schools in other states are dealing with this. But so far, the California Department of Education has included in their framework now these discussions about the gender as a spectrum. With, there's even a book called Who Are You? And I guess some schools are introducing this to kids in like kindergarten through third grade. So kids who have not even gone through puberty yet, or some of them haven't even had the talk about the birds and the bees at home with mom and dad. But in this book that they're reading, it's like, okay, you can be a boy, a girl, both, neither, gender fluid, gender queer, trans, non-binary, gender neutral, agender, neutois. We're throwing French in there now. You can be third gender, two-spirit, and then the list continues. It's just, that's all I have listed here. So we got some pansexuals. It's all across the board. So we're promoting gender confusion to children. We've also got, instead of discussing like, oh, Sally had a partner, it'll say Sally had a partner or partners. So now we're like we're accepting polyamory as opposed to monogamy. It's even called polysexual. We're talking to kids who've never had sex about polyamorous relationships. I don't know when that became acceptable in American society, but it's not with me. And I feel like when I was in junior high and high school, the pressure to have sex and to lose my virginity was pretty hardcore, and it was kind of a drag. So now what are we doing? We're letting men kind of run the gamut on this. They can go through as many women as they want, and now it's okay because the institution said it's okay by accepting polyamory, and now nobody needs to commit to anybody else. Nobody needs to honor women. We can just run through them like a train because polyamory is all good in the neighborhood. It's not good with me. The worst part about all this, by the way, is that you can't even, as a parent, opt out of it. There's a California Education Code 51932B. So look that up. 51932B is saying they don't even need to send home hey, we're doing the gender spectrum conversation today, so if you don't dig it, keep Johnny at home. They're not even giving you a warning about this. Totally crazy. What's going on in other states? Are other states doing this? Please let me know. I'm dying to know. It's like making me want to pull my kid out of, I wouldn't want to put my kid in public school, with that said. They tried to pull this in Canada. Thank God we're in the U.S. because Canada's going even cuckooer with this stuff. But even when they tried to do this in Canada, like at one of the schools in Toronto, 90% of the parents had their kids sit out that day. And so, the Canada school system there in Toronto had to back out and go, oh shit, maybe we should talk to the parents before we do this. We're going to take a step back. Guess you guys aren't all totally on board with talking to your second graders about polyamory and gender fluidity. Cool. It's crazy, I know I'm going to hear from a lot of people that gender is a social construct. You know what else is a social construct? Time. But if I don't clock into work on time, guess what? I lose my job. So everything is a social construct. humans are limited by language. If you want to explore further about how everything's a social construct, I recommend you take some hallucinogenic mushrooms or acid. That'll really blow your mind. It's not a good excuse. Scientifically, there's two genders. Birth certificates have two genders. Yes, there's anomalies, outliers to everything. There's hermaphrodites. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the vast majority of the population, and the devil's in the details with this one. It looks like, I read it from the Williams Institute, and I'm sure that when I'm Googling, not all the statistics are going to be perfectly accurate, but these are just overall representations. We got 40% of trans people trying to kill themselves, 20% of gays trying to kill themselves. And when I say gays, by the way, just throw them all, I'm just including everyone in that for the sake of brevity. Okay, so the gays, they're killing themselves at a 20% rate. And then we got the rest of the population killing themselves at a 4% rate. So that's kind of looking like, this is sort of a mental illness to me at this point, because it's a large statistical number of people doing this. And it's just not having a hard life or not being accepted is not a justifiable reason. Most people go through serious adversities. This is the one that the homosexual community has to deal with, but it shouldn't be causing such a huge spike in suicide rates. And I don't think that it is from not being accepted. There's never been a more popular or accepted time in, like the history of, at least for sure, America and many other countries, to be a homosexual. It's marketers and advertisers, by the way, know this. You can't walk around the mall without seeing rainbow this, rainbow that, pride, even when it's not Pride Month, which during that month, it's like you'd forget the 4th of July is coming up because we got so many freaking rainbows all over the place, No, it's all the time. And why are marketers and advertisers doing it? Because the gay population typically doesn't reproduce children. They got a lot of money to blow, and advertisers know that. So it's actually a big con, but it's definitely creating social acceptability. Especially with schools promoting it, you think, how much more socially acceptable could it possibly get? It's all over our cinematic entertainment. I can't even scroll through Netflix or even look up something to watch in the show at the theaters. Look up a show to watch, because it's like all the plot lines are gay plot lines. I mean, I love the Titanic. I love to watch old movies, but every once in a while I'd like to catch a new release to entertain my palate, and I can't find one, or it's more difficult to find one that isn't involving some kind of homosexuality. It's like there's a whole tab dedicated to it on Hulu and on Netflix and stuff like that. Where's the tab for feminism? Women make up 50% of the population. Where's that tab? I'm not seeing it. Why am I not seeing it? Because it's not there. Because this gender debate has taken over everything in the public eye. Speaking of women, this whole transgender shebang has actually taken women's rights and the subject of feminism a few leaps back. We've got, I saw a tweet from the Cancer Research of the UK, and they're basically saying, okay, so if you're 25 to 64 years old, make sure that you come in for your cervical screening if you have a cervix. Instead of just saying, if you're a woman between 25 to 64, get your cervix checked out for cancer. They can't use the word woman. Has woman become a dirty word? Why can't we use it? Only natural-born women have cervixes. There's another organization called the Bloody Game Period, and they basically donate sanitary pads to illegal aliens, asylum seekers, whatever you want to call it. The immigration debate is for another day, but the bottom line is these people are handing out sanitary pads. So some person's just been walking through the desert for 3 days, and then this little white girl with her sanitary pad backpack walks up to them and goes, indiscriminately, walks up to Pablo and Martha, just without even are you a menstruator? Are you a menstruator? I mean, these people are probably looking at him like, you guys are crazy. It's women menstruate. Natural-born women. They bleed once a month. They have cervixes. We don't really need to get this crazy specific with it. Medical communities at this point are doing a major disservice to both men and women. I just saw a thing where, okay, so it's complicated, but if you're a woman pretending to be a man, or, transitioning into a man, they're not going to ask you if you should do a breast exam or if you should, if you want to get your cervix checked out, because they could be insulting you, right, in case you don't identify. Real dangerous to your health. So they're like putting your life at risk by not wanting to offend you. That's where we've gone now. So, but on the other note, men pretending to be women, they ask them, oh, would you like to get your breast exam or your cervical exam today? To a person who doesn't have a cervix and isn't really at like the same risk of breast cancer. So we're wasting resources. Like, doesn't tax money go to like paying for like low cost medical stuff? I mean, we're sending out smears, I guess, on people who are, I mean, what? This is putting people's lives at risk. Putting women's lives at risk. Women pretending to be men, yeah, but lives nonetheless. We've also got clothing companies, some select clothing companies that want to be progressive, who are really just also being opportunists for the, a lot of women typically vote liberal, so they're realizing that women are going to be empathetic to the trans plight and go, oh, how wonderful is this? It helps them be popular amongst their female circle. Look at how wonderful this gender-inclusive catalog is. There's trans people there. Too bad the woman looking through the catalog is going to have a hard time now finding proper clothes for herself, since the models are actually men pretending to be women who are built completely differently. Like, why can't we have a third category for that? Just a separate category for trans people so they can find the gear that they need to, and women can still find clothes for natural-born women bodies. And it's also affecting us in sports, right? So nobody ever cares about women's sports. You've got, you go to a bar, right? And women's sports are playing, no one's watching. Nobody cares. You've got sports for men playing, and everybody's like this. So women have had a hard enough time getting any attention in sports without now men dressed up as women winning women's awards. We got Caitlyn Jenner. She won Woman of the Year the year after she hit and killed people. So what are we awarding her for? Killing people? Like, what? No. We've got this guy, Craig Tiefer. He's like a hurdler. I ran competitive track in high school, and if I found out that men could pretend to be women and win women's sports awards, I would have thrown my jersey off right then and been like, I'm out, I quit, peace. Like, no thank you. This guy, this character, 2016, 200th place. 2017, 390th place. So he's just getting worse. Finally, he goes, damn it, I want to win. And then he decides, screw it, I'm going to turn into a woman. He did just that, and now he's a national championship. That is completely unfair. That's a total joke. And how we don't have people up in arms about this, I don't even know. Like, gender anomalies are being catered to at the expense of the rest of the population. Nobody should have to memorize if someone's a they, a there, a zed, especially not like a third grader. They're just learning the difference between 2, 2, and 2, and now we want to make them memorize 75 genders? That's crazy. It's a lot of, young college kids too. I was a college student at an older age, right? But it was a very progressive university, I would say almost radical. And I watched so many young people getting completely brainwashed by like this socialist identity politics agenda. There was like a young girl that I went to school with who was a white girl from a privileged family. In the beginning, she was dating a guy for 2 years. By the end of the college experience, she was a full-on hardcore lesbian with a black girlfriend. And in my opinion, it was insincere, and the reason why people are doing things like this is so they can have as much of a claim to the oppression pie chart as possible, because that's the only way they'll have an opportunity to speak in these college institutions that are just damn set on brainwashing people. It's creating more division in this country when it comes to sexuality and gender than it is breeding inclusiveness. Feminist circles of women are being called like TERFs if they're not being inclusive to trans spaces. So basically, men dressed up as women are now telling women how to run their feminism and essentially like taking over traditional feminism. That's totally crazy. It's insincerity. It's bred by insincerity, and it's an oppression Olympics. And on the final note here, because really I'm going to become a mother here to a child soon, and my focus is on just what other kind of parents am I going to be around? These people giving kids puberty blockers? Like, they're polluting children's bodies. Any doctor that does that is a quack or just a totally money-making scam artist. Nobody is thinking about the best interest of the child. Nobody cares about that child. It's just, it's all for show. It's all for popularity. It's a lot of rich, elitist, privileged circles that have no reason to be marginalized or oppressed, and they all want to get together in their PTA meeting and brag about how, you know, Johnny prefers to be called Johnny-etta now. It's like, what are you doing? You're walking up to your son who's playing the G.I. Joes and you're like, oh my God, I see you playing with your G.I. Joes, Johnny. Did you notice the pink Barbie that I bought you? And the pink dress that I bought you? And then, like, Johnny puts on the dress and plays with Barbies because that's what you're encouraging. You're not encouraging him or allowing him to explore normal, traditional gender toys that he's playing with. You're pushing it on him because it makes you look cool in your little yuppity, hippie, progressive meetings. It's definitely like that out in California, and it needs to stop. The puberty blockers are child abuse. None of this stuff's in the best interest of the child, and I'm not with it, you know? So I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comments. At this point, I feel like this is an attack on the traditional American heterosexual family, the people who are actually repopulating the earth with children. Like, I understand that some animals do some gay stuff, but for the most part, the earth is repopulated by heterosexual sex. And that must mean that, you know, if the gays aren't reproducing, it's kind of, they're dying off. It's not meant to keep going, right? So I love the gay people. To my future child, if you end up watching mom's art YouTube video later and you become gay, like, it's cool. I accept you. It's all good. But I have to make this video for all the crazy people who have taken it way too far and are poisoning children with hormone blockers, acting like kids dressing up in drag and shaking their booties is normal. It needs to stop. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I really appreciate it. And yeah, this has been the Jackie Lowe Show. Thanks for listening to my little spiel today. Would love to get some ideas for my next video. All right, peace.